was here when you came, baby, and I will be here when you gone. And I do mean nobody is forcing me out of my home.
Why did they have cocktail waitresses on the field?
Mary, that's a redskin cheerleader.
Well, if they don't put some more clothes on, they're gonna be the blue-skin cheerleader.
I always say I ain't got no right to waste time when other people is paying for it.
I hear you. She's got the job.
Because it ain't easy working in all this heat.
What heat?
All that hot air coming out your mouth.
We would have gone on, except they canceled us, but they didn't want anybody to know they canceled us, so they never announced that we were canceled. What they did was we were on 3 times a week, the new show and 2 reruns. So they figured rightly people would not know the difference. So they took us off, never said a word. We heard it from our friends, somebody who saw it in the paper. And so Isabel was upset to the day she died over that.
In the fast-paced world of television, few stars shine as brightly as Marla Gibbs.
Florence, I fired you.
I know. That's what I'm celebrating.
As the Jeffersons teetered on the edge of reinforcing harmful racial stereotypes, most infamously with a controversial episode involving the Ku Klux Klan.
Mind me, go right ahead.
What are you doing here? You've got to get people like that out of here.
Far more than an actress, she became a champion for authentic Black representation. But for a woman cast as a maid to challenge executive producers was no small feat. How exactly did she manage to pull it off? Well, we're going to have to go a bit deeper into her story.
What are you doing with that apple?
I was thinking of going fishing tomorrow, and I'm looking for a worm.
Marla Gibbs, born Margaret Bradley, started off her career in a surprising way. She worked as a reservations agent for United Airlines. But she had a secret talent, acting. She was hilarious in local plays and eventually landed some roles in those gritty blaxploitation movies. Then, in 1975, she got the big break. Florence Johnston on The Jeffersons. She was cast as the maid on the show.
But you know you should pour from the left, dear.
Really? Well, I'll remember that, sweetheart.
And while the role was a bit disparaging, she went with it. Regardless of her status, she was a central character and one that audiences could always count on for a good laugh. The show was a huge success, and Marla's performance earned her 5 Emmy nominations and a Golden Globe nomination.
Mrs. Jefferson, I'm Florence Johnson, the agency secretary.
Oh, yes, come in.
But he said I could only come back if I acted like a proper maid. So I came back as Aunt Jemima.
Not a bad start to her career. But while the show itself tried to depict a considerably well-to-do Black family, behind the scenes, things weren't all that serene. The Jeffersons was a show that started out breaking barriers left and right, giving us all the fabulousness of George and Louise Jefferson, living the high life on the Upper East Side. But somewhere along the way, things took a real nasty turn. The writers and producers needed more viewership, and things began to go south from there. These white execs started slipping in some seriously questionable content, pushing episodes that played into negative stereotypes about African Americans.
Say a Hispanic person talking, but they're not Hispanic. As long as they're in the right rhythm, you never turn around, but if they don't sound right, you turn around and see who's talking. Mm-hmm. So that's what I would tell them.
For a show that was supposed to be a trailblazer, this was a huge backslide. And then came the episode. You know the one where George and Louise Jefferson somehow end up tangled with the Ku Klux Klan. I kid you not. It was shocking, scandalous, and absolutely outrageous. The critics were up in arms, and honestly, who could blame them?
You're not joining anything. This happens to be a KKK meeting.
You bet it is. And everybody in here is proud to be part of the K what?
Marla was having none of it. She was not about to let this mess slide. She refused to let the Jeffersons fall into the trap of racial insensitivity and harmful portrayals, the kind that all other shows before them were relegated to.
Yes, it is. Because you're the only one who knows who the character is. You have to assimilate with her in order to do her well, and you have to believe in her. So I had to tell them who Florence was.
I mean, we're talking about serious courage here. Marla saved the show from spiraling into disgrace.
So sometimes I would take Mr. Jefferson where they had it in the front and put it in the middle or put it at the end so that it flowed. Because I would tell them, Black people flow. I said, Jewish people punch things. Italian people do another thing. I said, but we say the whole sentence, you know. I said, my grandma said, if you don't get up from there, I'm gonna knock you to the moon. She just say the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Everybody understands that rhythm because they've heard it.
Right.
They don't have to be black, but they've heard somebody black say it, and they know the rhythm.
And in doing so, she became an absolute legend. John Amos was trying to bring similar changes to the show Good Times, but was fired from the show. One could only expect that this is what Marla's fate would be.
Well, everything is scripted, but I would change the rhythm of it. My thing has to be in my rhythm. And the director will say, we know it's not in your rhythm.
Taking a stand against the executives is no small matter. In Hollywood, if hiring managers find that you are hard to work with, your career is all but finished. But her strength and determination were exactly what the industry needed at the time. A voice saying, enough with the stereotypes.
They identified with it, and we solved problems. We were always, everything that happened on the Jeffersons had happened in real life, like the first transplant. We went through that, George giving a kidney to his cousin. So whatever was going on the show was going on in somewhere in somebody's life.
So next time you're binge watching The Jeffersons, just remember the real drama that went down to keep that show from becoming a cautionary tale. If it wasn't for Marla. But despite the trouble, Marla did have the time of her life on the show. She often spoke about how they felt like a family on set, with a particularly closeness to Sherman Hemsley, who played George Jefferson.
Especially working with George. George, we had a chemistry, and he would say sometimes, Marla, I don't know the lines. I said, yes, you do. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll say something, and you just wait till my lips stop moving, and if it makes sense, you respond to what I say, that's all. He said, I knew that. And that's how we performed all the time.
Their on-screen dynamic was hilarious, with Florence constantly putting George in his place.
Miss Jefferson,
Yes, Florence?
which one do you think is softer?
This one.
It may be soft, but at least it ain't hollow.
But off-screen, they shared a mutual respect.
Sherman is the one who's perfect. I said, how did he do that?
After the cancellation of The Jeffersons, Marla Gibbs found her next big hit with 227.
Mom! I'm home.
I know that, dear. The whole building knows that.
This sitcom followed the lives of a group of black women in a Chicago apartment building in the 1950s. Gibbs played Mary Jenkins, a witty and outspoken housewife. But getting 227 on air wasn't a smooth ride. Gibbs had strong opinions about the show, including wanting to play a housewife and not the landlord. She believed that portraying a working-class woman was key to her career.
Lester,
Yeah.
do you love me?
I just kissed you, didn't I? Baby, we've been married for 23 years. You think I've been faking it all this time?
After some back and forth with the network, Gibbs ultimately got her way. On 227, Marla Gibbs had a special relationship with Rosa Parks, the civil rights icon, who made a guest appearance on the show in 1987. For Marla, Rosa Parks was more than just a historic figure. She was a personal hero and someone she deeply admired.
Rosa and I got to be friends before she passed. She'd come to the club. She loved coming to the club. She'd come for brunch. And she came to the set, and we took pictures with her, the Jeffersons, and she liked that. So we were very close for a while.
Gibbs also played a crucial role behind the scenes. She helped cast young actors like Regina King and Jack A. Harry, and she even contributed to the writing and editing of the show.
There she is.
Yes.
That's my baby.
Aww.
Her hard work and dedication helped 227 run for 5 successful seasons.
I'm saying, what show is that?
One of the most interesting details about Gibbs' involvement in 227 is her role as uncredited executive producer. Despite being an actor, Gibbs was able to influence the direction of the show. She helped shape the characters, storylines, and even the overall tone of the series. Her contributions were instrumental in making 227 a beloved sitcom. For the first time, she could tell an authentic story about African Americans the way she wanted. When she realized that she could really do anything she set out for herself, the scope of life broadened. She continued to act, direct, and produce, but outside Hollywood, she could be whoever she wanted.
For me to own the business and be the boss makes me a have. I don't know what that would do to my career, and I'm not willing to find out.
Between 1981 and 1999, Marla Gibbs owned a jazz venue in South Central LA called Marla's Memory Lane Jazz and Supper Club. During this time, she also released several albums as a singer. In 1990, she relocated her Crossroads Arts Academy and Theater to the former Limart Theater in Los Angeles. Currently, Marla is 93 years old and continues to thrive in Hollywood as an actress, and outside it, she is a keen businesswoman.
I like working. I like particularly acting because you get to be another character. You get to have other experiences other than your life.
At the time when she began working on the Jeffersons, she had a meager net worth of about $60K. And now, with all her Hollywood and business ventures, she is pushing $4 million. The woman is a believer, and because of it, she continues to work to this day. Marla Gibbs' persistence in demanding authentic Black representation paved the way for future Black actors, writers, and producers to follow suit. Shows like Living Single, A Different World, and Insecure owe a debt to trailblazers like Gibbs, who worked to ensure that Black stories were told with truth, dignity, and the complexity they deserve.